Hi, my name is Chris and welcome back to the channel. In this channel, we look at how to become a one-man band videographer, how to keep your equipment minimal while still making best quality results. Today we're looking at a lens for the Sony E-mount system, and that is the Tamron 28-75 F2.8. So today I'm going to be talking about what I've used this lens for, the good and the bad, and does it have a place in your kit list? And just right off the bat, I would say yes, it does. Now, I was one of the first people in the UK to get this lens, and that was some point last year, maybe April, May time. And when it came out, it had a nasty focus issue where it just would not get focus. Every now and then it would just completely switch and you just couldn't get focus on it whatsoever. But Tamron released a firmware update for it, and now I pretty much think the focus is on point with this thing. So that being said, I don't think you should be skeptical that it's once had focus issues, because the firmware update fixed that pretty quickly. So let's get into what I think about this lens. Now, I've used the Tamron lens for weddings, for corporate shoots, for travel videos, and for photography a little bit as well. So I pretty much used it for across the spectrum for a variety of different things. So I've got an idea of what it's good for and when sort of not to use it, I guess. Now, I'm not big on relaying the specs and things, so I'm just going to talk about sort of the build quality of it for a second. It does feel sturdy. You know, it's not an expensive lens, and for the price you pay, you're getting something that, if dropped, I think would probably survive. And going back to the weight, it's pretty light, so you'll be able to mount this to your Xeon Crane. What I use is a Xeon Crane Plus, and this fits on perfectly fine. All I do is sort of balance it up at the mid-range, so around the 50mm mark, and then it sort of balances out so that if I'm going a little bit wider or a little bit closer, the Xeon Crane Plus will sort of accommodate for that, and it'll be perfectly balanced all the way through the focal range. Now, for me, something that's important in a minimal filmmaker's kit is autofocus. When you're out and about doing travel, you don't particularly want to manual focus all the time, and so autofocus is very important for me, hence the Sony a7 III that I have here. The Tamron does not disappoint here. You know, like I said, it had issues before, but as soon as they release a new firmware update, I don't think I've had a point where I've thought, you know, this autofocus is not good enough. So in terms of that, I'm not going to do any big, you know, focus tests and things like that. I'm just going to show you some footage, and you can see for yourself, you know, it's all in focus. So, you know, don't have to worry about the autofocus on this lens. It's pretty good. Even in low light, it tends to focus very well. Now let's talk about what you can use it for and the versatility of this lens. So 28-75 as a focal range is a bit of a weird one, but I've heard that Tamron did it to keep the lens light and to keep it small, which is obviously great for the mirrorless E-mount setup and great for sort of travel videography or one-man band videography as well. Let's start at the wide end, so the 28mm. I think it's a little too close for your sort of establishing wide shots. I still use my 16-35 f4 wherever possible for the establishing wide shots. However, if you're stuck for a lens and you just need to take one lens out and it needs to cover your establishing wides and your close-ups, then this is the lens you want. But if you're using this all the time for your establishing wides, you're going to find yourself wanting to go a little bit wider. So another advantage of the 28mm is the minimum focus distance. Now, the minimum focus distance on this, whilst it's at 28mm, is so short, and I've been using it for sort of macro-ish shots. So I've put it to 28, get right up in there, and you get some really sharp close-ups. And I think that's a really nice feature to have from a lens, where you can get wide shots, where you can get close-ups with the 75, and now you can also get macro shots of it as well. So I've been using that for sort of wedding details, details in restaurants, and anything that requires a really nice close-up. That's what I'll use this for, and I'll use it at the 28mm focal length. So the f2.8 aperture isn't the widest aperture, but for a mid-range zoom like this, I think it's really handy. Again, with the close-ups, if you're putting it at 28mm and doing some nice close-ups, then you can do some really nice pull focuses with f2.8. And otherwise, if you're shooting like a person or a portrait or a walking shot of a couple, then put it to 75, come back a bit, and you'll really compress that background, get nice depth of field and some really nice bokeh as well. So all round, I think you can use it for most of the day. Again, with the A7 III, which is great in low light, you'll be able to use this sort of at night time as well for the dance shots, and generally it really performs very well at f2.8. So let's talk again about the versatility of the lens. Again, you can get your wide shots if you're stuck for a wide lens. You can do that on this lens. You just have to come back a little bit more. You can get your really nice close-ups with the 75, and with the A7 III you can crop into APS-C mode, which will make it about 110 off the top of my head. And so really you're getting about 28 to 110, which is on an A7 III for video, which is a really nice focal length, especially at 2.8. So versatility wise, you know, you're getting your wide shots, you can shoot interviews, you can get macro close-ups, you can put this on a Xeon crane and get nice smooth gimbal shots. There really is so much you can do with this lens, and honestly and truly I think this is the lens that I use the most. So most important is the price. The Tamron 28-75 2.8 is going for $879 in the US or 750 quid in the UK. That's an absolute steal for how much this lens can do. And in comparison, the Sony 24-70 2.8 is going for about 1700 quid. That's over double what this lens is going for. And I would choose this lens anyway for the fact it's lightweight, for the fact it's small, and the fact that if I'm dropping it, or if I'm taking it away with me and it gets stolen or anything, I'm not losing 1700 quid worth of gear. And as a solo videographer who tries to travel as minimal as possible, you know, all of these things add up, and it makes this lens really, I think, the best lens for E-mount. So who is this lens for, and should you buy it? Now, I think it's for most people, and that most people should buy it, but maybe not everyone. And here's why. I think if you're buying your first E-mount full frame camera, then you should buy this lens. This should be the first lens that you buy, just because of the versatility of it. Even if you use primes more, I'd recommend getting one of these first while you build up your primes to cover all the focal ranges. This covers all of the ranges, and the f2.8 is more than enough in most situations. However, I wouldn't recommend getting it if you were on the APS-C E-mount cameras, purely because the minimum range you'll be getting is about 42mm-ish, and I don't really think that's wide enough, and you will be caught short sometimes not having a wide enough lens. If you're gonna get this for your APS-C E-mount cameras, then I'd recommend looking at the 16mm Sigma 1.4 lens, just to cover that sort of wider range. If you're a wedding videographer, then 100% recommend this lens. Obviously, primes that lovely, but for wedding videography, you have to be alert at all times. So even if there's two of you, get one person on this lens for the whole day, and they'll be able to capture so much, from close-up detail in the morning of the dress, of the shoes, to, you know, wide detail of the dress, to prep, to sort of ceremony, be nice and versatile during the ceremony, so you can zoom out and you've got the couple, zoom in when they're putting the rings on. You've got the couple shoot where at 75 on the Xeon crane you can really blur, nice background, you know, have the venue in the background with the couple walking in the foreground. For weddings, absolutely amazing lens. It's my most used lens for weddings. If you're shooting 90% corporate work, you might want to stick to your primes, but maybe get this lens if you're getting anything that involves shooting people, being natural. So I shoot a lot of restaurant shoots, and it involves shooting people while they're having their dinner in the evening or ordering drinks. And what I do is I put this lens to 75 on the A7 III at APS-C mode, so I'm shooting around 110mm, and I can step back then, get shots of the guests having fun, enjoying themselves without getting too involved. So also the lens is great for that. But like I say, if you've got more time to set up, to storyboard and to think about your lenses, obviously primes are going to be sharper and they're going to be nicer most of the time. So I hope that's helped you make your decision on whether to buy the Tamron 28-75 f2.8. My personal opinion is it's the best lens for Sony E-mount out right now, and that's due to the price, the versatility, how lightweight it is, how small it is, how many people can actually make use of this lens. And I think if you bought this lens, you would not be disappointed. Thank you for taking the time to watch this whole video. I'm going to be doing a lot of more videos on the Sony E-mount system, on the DJI Osmo Pocket, and on any way that you can use to keep your equipment minimal while still getting really high quality video results as a one-man band videographer. If you like this video, then give me a thumbs up down below, and if you loved it, press that subscribe button with a little bell notification to be notified when I make more videos like this. There'll be a lot more things coming. I'm looking forward to making a lot more videos, and I'll see you guys in the next one.